to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry to be a big door, folks.
The big door. 6 o'clock. Public comment. Anybody here for public comment? Seeing none. Consent agenda.
I move to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Meeting minutes. Public meeting minutes and non-public for July 16th.
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes, public and non-public, from July 16th, 2019, with any amendments offered to either.
For a second?
Oh, I second it.
Discussion?
I have a funny question here, I think.
Funny question.
Page 9, it shows that you abstained from making the meeting go past 8 o'clock. And I was thinking that I didn't think that was accurate, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, we do that all the time.
So, yeah, it's on page 9, and,
Yeah, because it didn't matter to me. I wasn't going to vote on one way or the other.
so you did actually abstain?
Yeah.
Okay, great. That was it.
It was going to pass, so, you know, who cares what I think?
Okay, no, that's it. That was my
I have a
only
motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
So I have to abstain because I haven't
Abstain.
read it yet.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yep. Reports?
So I wasn't, first I want to say thank you for your understanding of the last few weeks. My mother hadn't done a superintendent's report to give you, but I wanted to present some information to you anyway. So Maria's going to hand out packets regarding the end of the year draft expenditure report or budget summary.
Thank you.
So on the first page is double-sided, and the remaining pages are all just supporting information regarding the summary. And I'm just going to take you through it line by line. If you look at the 1100 line regular education, you'll see we have a deficit of $77,130.02. And that basically is in regarding the additional health insurance that wasn't budgeted, the regular ed tuition that was under budget, and the contract and ESOL services that were unanticipated. The second line is the 1200 special education. Yes?
I just want to confirm that it started off much higher, being underfunded. I know that it was 99,000 just for the health insurance, and I know that the tuition was underfunded and ESOL was
this is-
underfunded.
yep.
So we actually, it was under budgeted by, I don't really recall how much exactly, but closer to
Encumbrance, sure.
$150,000 was the original amount so it was considerably less than what it was originally.
Yep, and this is just where we ended, after all the
Yep.
other lines within the regular ed function.
Okay,
If you look at the 1200 special ed function, you see that we have a deficit of $309,690.38. Largely, that's much lower than what we had initially said, but that's because they're also accounting for the $105,000 for the trust fund for special education. So if you take that 105 and put in there, you'd come back to that 443 initially, and it would be under, it would be over budget. And again, that's primarily due to additional salary benefits, contracted services, and special ed tuitions. The 1410, the curriculum and activities is over by $14,497, largely due to Camp Calumet being under budgeted, but also salaries and benefits. I'll skip over the lines that are over, that are in the black, just to kind of bring you up to speed. You go down to the health nurse is $579.21, and that primarily is because of retirement benefits. It was higher. The retirement benefit, which was higher, but because she didn't utilize a sub in there, it offset that function. So it would have been
a bit higher. You go down to the next line, legal services, you can see we have over budget by $28,202.61. Again, largely due to our collective bargaining work we did with the attorneys. The SAU administration expense is in deficit of $8,827, largely because you went from a full-time, part-time superintendent to a full-time. Offset somewhat in the bottom line by the next line, which is an increase of $27,947 remaining. So because you didn't spend as much money on the salary as well, Ms. Lamont will take. Next one, the deficit is our athletic student transportation, somewhat negligible at $8.44. And then you're looking at the next one, the deficit was the food service fund of $15,310. Overall, you're looking at a negative of $242,861. Sure.
You may have gone over this when I wasn't here, so I apologize for this case. The food service, is that the final number with everything in there?
It's a draft. It's
Right, but
it's
are we pretty close?
Yes.
So,
12,000. So if you look at the actual line that's at expenditures on that in that transfer, we actually transferred $29,000.
Mhm.
You see where it says 29,310.
no, in the same, where?
Second column. The second
Oh,
column.
okay. Mm-hmm.
Of that $29,000, 12,000 of it was for negative balances.
You mean it covered negative balances that
Of the
existed?
29,
Mhm.
12,000 was due to negative balances. The remainder of it is because we're not charging
Enough.
appropriate for the program.
For lunch.
Carol.
You can't cover the previous year's deficit with appropriations from the new year, though, right? Is that correct?
There was no deficit in 18.
Okay.
That food service has to be made whole.
Every year.
Every year. It has to be funded 100%, either through the program or through the operating budget.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay.
Actually, I do have a question. I just want to go back up to special education. And just want to confirm that that's not something that is controlled by the board or admin, correct?
No.
It's
these
not
are-
something that can be
these
covered
are-
in a
these
budget
are costs
freeze.
These are costs that had to happen. And really, in our discussion with DRA, it's the only line in the budget that can be legally overspent.
The only function.
The only function, excuse me, thank you.
And legally, the board cannot freeze that line.
No, we can't stop the services.
Ralph.
And if those services were provided in-house, would there be a savings?
I couldn't answer that question without looking at what would have to put in here for personnel, as well as what would do for space to provide those services. And some of those services are not something we could do here anyway, because
Right.
they're high school
For
services.
the out of districts or high school.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's, again, just hard to say yes or no to that.
Okay.
I can say, as a result of putting the partner program in for next year, we've already avoided an out of district placement.
Great.
Jeff?
I don't know if this is the time and place, so kibosh it if you need to. So when we talk about the special ed deficit in front of the budget committee on a regular basis, the question comes up by the budget committee about what would happen if we don't provide those services. How do we answer that? What would happen if we don't provide those? And I'm in no way saying I don't want to provide those services.
Right.
I'm just trying
Well,
to.
what's the answer to the question?
Yeah,
we're asking?
because it's federally mandated,
Right.
but what's the,
So if we didn't provide the service in a parent filed due process, we'd have significant legal fees.
Mhm.
And your special ed administration would be working solely to try to fight due process, basically. They could also file a complaint to the Department of Ed, and that would require us to respond to the complaint. If they found that we had not provided programming, you could potentially have what they call, I'm gonna forget it right now, compensatory,
Damages.
compensatory
Cost.
costs, right. So in other words, if you weren't let's say you didn't provide a year of service to a student and the DOE found you negligent, then you would potentially have to provide services until 22 instead of 21.
Okay.
So that's
And where would the kid
compensatory
go in that
costs.
meantime? Just in the regular population? And that would be, could be disastrous for everybody.
Out of district placements, I can say that the out of district placements that occurred were because of pretty serious safety issues.
And what are the examples, you've talked to me before about examples in the state where people haven't, where they've been sued by, a family or a student?
Well, yeah, that's the other
Yeah.
thing. The school district would be sued specifically by the parents.
And you've seen that happen?
I personally haven't seen it happen. I've read enough case studies where it's happened.
And what's the result of that?
Usually found in favor of the parent. It's similar to, so another example of, it's not special ed, it's homeless. If you don't provide homeless services correctly and you are audited and they find that, you get fined significantly. So Portsmouth was fined, I believe, almost $18 million
Wow.
for not providing the right homeless services. We're smaller
Recently?
than Portsmouth.
Yeah.
I don't know when it was. I learned of it at a recent conference. But that could be the same thing, that a parent could file suit against the district.
So I think that this might be one of those things that we would really want to educate ourselves on prior to going in front of the budget committee again. Even though that's not in the immediate future, I think that we should really have our ducks in a row about what the repercussions are, because one particular budget committee member constantly brings up the fact that what are they going to do?
Right.
If and I'd like for us to have an answer to that.
And I did, that question was raised by, is his name Peter?
3% peak.
No, the other, the pro-education person.
Oh,
Is that
Dave Bankus.
Dave. That question was asked by Dave, and I did answer that. I think there were 4 different, I can't pull it off the top of my
Sure.
head, but I think there were 4 different examples I provided to them. But that was once, that was not.
Right. I think we just need to really be armed with that information to shut that down.
Right, and the other thing that the budget committee brings up often is why don't we ask the parents to pay for it through insurance?
Right.
And we legally can't do that. I don't know how many ways I have to say that we legally can't do that. We can't ask. If a parent volunteers, we can accept it, but we can't ask for a parent to provide services under their insurance.
It's not legal.
Right.
Ralph?
I think the greatest concern for a lot of the budget committee members are unfunded mandates from the federal government. So you get into a program where you,
I understand this complaint, but we still have to do it. Our hands are still tied, whether it's funded or not, right?
I don't know,
I agree with what you're saying.
I didn't get a chance to say it.
I'm sorry.
no,
That's
I'm
all
sorry, Ralph.
That's all right.
I know
Forget
what
it.
you-
I don't need
yeah.
to say no.
Unfunded mandates. So what do you do, though? I mean, actually, I had an interesting discussion about special ed with somebody from another town who said the town absolutely didn't want to ever be caught like we were this year, where they had 3 or 4 extra students that ended up having to be outsourced, and you're talking easily 6 students could be $600,000, and there is absolutely so they built their special ed contingency up to $600,000, and she said it was unanimous. The town didn't want to be caught without the funds to cover it. The board didn't want to be caught without funds to cover special ed because it is such a unpredictable number. And it's mandated by law to cover it. It isn't.
As long as you're taking federal funds.
I don't think so. Isn't it under?
No, I mean,
No,
again,
it's
Dan's pointing out, they were sued in
disability.
in court. And
Yeah.
so that has nothing to do with the federal funds.
Right, that's
They can still
that's
sue.
the individual IDEA.
Yeah, you have to teach every student every child by law. There's nothing by law.
Right, so
If a
we
student comes in here that
chose
needs-
not to take IDEA funds, we would still have to provide the service. because it's a federal law.
Yeah. To provide education to every child.
Well, the assurances that come with the federal funding, I mean, okay, so the federal monies come in once the assurances are made, right? Okay. So, I mean,
If we didn't get any government money whatsoever, the bill would be triple. We have
if we had a
we-
program that covered our responsibilities to educate the students
Here's-
that need that extra education without see, there's triggers or points where action needs to be taken, and sometimes those triggers or points where action needs to be taken is more immediate because of federal intervention, or less immediate because of local responsibility.
Jen?
I think that what we're missing here is whether or not we take their money. If we break the law or we don't provide the adequate education, any parent can sue us in court, and whether we take the federal money or not, we can lose that court case and be on the hook for millions of dollars.
I'm not advocating breaking the law.
Well, that's been the question though at the budget committee, has been, well, what's gonna happen to us if we do? And they seem to wanna find out. I really don't wanna put our school and our kids through that. I think that
Or town.
there is a,
Right.
you know, a reasonable expectation that every kid is educated. And we have to meet that. And we shouldn't be looking to cheat somebody else out just to see what would happen. Because, you know, it might be entertaining for them at that moment, but it's life-changing for those kids. And if the school tanks because we have no money, it's life-changing for all the kids in Wakefield.
So I was listening, and you implied that you thought if we kept everybody in-house, we wouldn't have those. There are students that you cannot, for the safety of all the children in school, that you cannot keep in-house.
That's what I heard.
So I guess I don't know. So what is the point? So if you got that, then I missed your point, and I was trying to hear it.
Can I speak to that? So, and it wasn't when I was here, but several years ago, the Paul School did have a program in place for students that were on the spectrum, autism. The program did not work because the people that were staffing it weren't trained. So I agree with you that in-house programming is definitely the way to go. I think the partner program will prove that out as we move forward, because it's a program with well-trained staff. The high school, last year, I felt my hands were very tied at the high school. It was very hard to identify alternative programs for kids. We've had lots of conversations about that since, and it looks like we'll be bringing 2 kids back into the Spalding High School with alternative programs that are currently out of district, as a result of trying to help Spalding understand that they need to help our kids. You can't just do a college-bound program.
Not all kids that are getting benefits outside of the school are a danger, right?
No.
We need to be clear about that, because that's all we're talking about. So I can see, a parent being upset by a kid who's not getting services in school being lumped with dangerous kids. There's a
Yep.
difference. Some kids
There
just
is a
have
difference,
a
you're right.
different
And
Need.
our 2 most expensive out-of-district placements, each $100,000, were not kids that were dangers to the school.
The other thing about in-house is we just took over the entire activity room to devote to the Partners program. This was space that used to be used by all students, and
Well, that space, learning centers are for special ed teachers because we needed the classroom. The partner program is having cubbies built into it for the students that are there.
in the activity room.
In the classroom.
In the
that partner
classroom.
program will be. And what we've done, and I don't know that we've had a lot of conversation around it, But in the last few months, as a result of our situation in 5th grade, we made the decision to do, we're calling it the Panda Den, to house a place in the building where kids who need to de-escalate can go, and kids that need to have a safe environment to get their stuff done, whatever it be. So a classroom has been divided, and 2/3 of it is for the partner program, and 1/3 of it is basically for the Panther Den, I think is what we've decided. And it's being housed, that is being overseen by a special ed teacher. However, it will include regular ed students
But again,
that need it.
we took over in order to bring
Oh, yeah,
things back. We have
Yeah.
used a lot of space at that school
yeah.
that was used for other purposes.
Moving on. Okay, so if you look at the next block, it says general fund appropriation summary. Yeah, I got it. So if we look at the regular education function in the deficit of $144,555.37, that's what we are in the deficit of regular ed. In the regular ed, in the positive, we have $153,150.09. And the difference between the two is a positive of $8,594.72. Similar with the 1,200 in the special ed, we have a deficit of $309,692.38. And remember, that also includes the $105,000 from the trust, as well as the special ed transportation function, the 2722 line, at $58,235.82 in the positive. Yes?
That negative 300, the 150's already been added to that to bring it to negative 3,
Yes,
so it was negative
it was-
150?
It was negative 450,
Okay.
414.
Okay.
Okay, so that leaves a deficit of $251,456.56. If you look at the difference from the top block we're looking at, the deficit bottom line was $242,861, matches the $242,861.84 in the general fund appropriation summary. So that's really what we're looking at.
So,
Yes, sir.
sorry. So you're taking the 8594 and taking it away from the 251?
No.
Can you apply that $8,594 in the regular education functions towards special ed?
Well, it's the bottom line. It really all applies
Just
to the
netting.
bottom line, Ralph. It's not, we're not applying it anywhere. It really is just what was the deficit and what was the positive in regular ed, and the difference of and a positive $8,594.72 in the regular ed.
Well, we were delineating the costs we were separating so everyone could understand where the deficit line, and again, it was state mandated. So we delineated regular education and special education, and then combined it just so you could see where the cost actually occurred. But the bottom line is the same.
Actually, I think I get where he's going to. Do you see where it says the 251 is the special ed overage?
Mhm.
And you see up above it says the positive for 85?
Mhm.
Then the bottom 242, 861?
That's
That is
what I-
them combined.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's, okay.
That takes the 8 out. Right.
And in the next section, you see the revenues. And if you move over to where it says unanticipated revenues, you've got $200,000 in the warrant article. You had $167,000 in food service funding. You had $2,010 in preschool tuition. You had $1,193 in additional interest. You had New Hampshire retirement, a refund of $2,744. You had unanticipated revenue from state adequacy at $73.25. And then you had Medicaid reimbursement, unanticipated revenue of $17,435.81. We're leaving us with a total of $397,709,041.41 in unanticipated revenue. Got all that?
Yeah. can-
Awesome.
But we can't apply that to the, right?
Wait.
Okay.
It comes around. Ralph?
I'm waiting.
Oh, good. So if you flip the page over. There's a lot of it.
Food service.
So, okay, then you go down to where the black where it says the general fund of the general fund 100. You have the beginning balance, the beginning fund balance at the beginning of the year was $340,000, $13.06. You had your appropriation from the town at $9,393,160.
Well, can I explain
Yeah,
that?
go ahead.
So the first is the fund balance. The second line, it's actual revenues that we got in. That includes all the revenues that we got in, is the $9,393,160. Go ahead. It's
Go ahead.
actual, it's the actual dollars.
Actually-
Then the actual cost, and it ties back to, if you look at page 1, they agree, the actual expenditures draft to date, it can change, is $9,578,581.84. If you take the fund balance, add the revenues, and subtract out the expenditures. Now, the revenues include the $200,000 appropriation from the warrant article. So then our fund balance at the end of the year is $154,591.22. And the reason why we have a fund balance is because of the $200,000 additional appropriation for the deficit.
So with that, we end up in the positive. We did not end up having to not pay somebody.
Correct.
Not pay somebody?
Well, because when we were talking, a couple months ago,
Yep.
I believe we were told that we weren't allowed to use the unanticipated revenue to cover our over expenditures, right? The town said that. They wanted the money back, the unanticipated revenue. So the unanticipated revenue is included in this number. So if we were in the negative at the end of the year, and we just didn't have money, what's the answer? The answer would have been, somebody doesn't get paid.
If we would have had to write a warrant article, if we were in the red in the fund balance at the end of the year, we would have had to have gone to the town with a warrant article for next year to pay that deficit.
So, in that situation, you can, in a current year, pay a prior year's debt? Because some of these things we're talking about, you can't do that, right?
So I'm gonna
Yep.
take it one step at a time. So I'm gonna answer your question about not being paid. If we didn't have the $200,000 additional appropriation.
Yes.
But we didn't have the additional revenue, we would have a cash flow problem.
Right.
So we would have to pay, we would write out the checks, but we would hold on, we would have a cash flow issue.
Well, it's not
And-
paying them, whether we write them or not.
Right.
Okay.
And then as we got money in monthly, then we start releasing them.
But you can't, my understanding is that you cannot pay a prior year's debt with a current year budget. So how would you continue to do that?
The 200,000 is this year.
I know, but I'm
Is the previous
asking-
year.
But my point was that we were talking at the end of the year, a month or so ago, that if we had a negative balance at the end of the year, someone was going to go unpaid because you cannot take next year's income, and pay last year's bills with it.
Can I do have something I wanted
Isn't
to
that
say.
right, Phil?
Good, Trish.
Is that what you told
So,
us?
Well,
you know how Barb,
we got clarification on that, Jen.
Oh, since I've been here? Okay.
Yeah,
So you
we
know
had a
how-
lot of conversation with DRA and.
And so you can do that?
do you
Okay.
remember Barbara Lohman's letter where she said, but you are not
It was
in a
very
deficit?
ambiguous.
No. Actually, it isn't. You are not in a deficit. She saw that there was going to be, after the 200,000, that there actually wasn't a negative balance. Yes, it was unanticipated, but bottom line is we were not in a deficit.
But I thought the issue was that we couldn't, I thought the town
can.
said, the budget committee said, and I've been out for a little bit.
Yep. No, this isn't for you, this is,
That
I've
the
been part of the
town had
process.
told us we could not use the unanticipated revenue. They wanted it to go back to the town to lower the tax rate. So something happened since I've been here.
What we learned from DRA
I know I should've
is
watched this
there
on
are
TV, but-
yes, there are provisions within the RSA that allow you have to pay your bills.
Right.
So the option is you don't pay your bills or you're forced to pay your bill. We're gonna pay our bill. So we would have to write a warrant, and that's within,
Then it has to pass, right?
it would have, yes, it would have to pass. So how far do you kick the can down the road?
Right.
Because this
It
not
could be
passing
ongoing.
for years. The long and short of it this year is we do not have a deficit.
Okay, so how did the lawyer see that and we didn't see that?
See what?
That there wasn't going to be a
We did,
deficit?
but it was,
Well, the lawyer didn't see that. The lawyer didn't know that. The lawyer gave us options about what we could do.
I thought Barbara said there isn't a
No.
deficit.
If there is not.
She did.
If there's not there's a difference between our fund balance and our bottom line. In our fund balance, there is no deficit. And according to DRA and the RSA, and there's a lot of discussion around that with other attorneys as well, if there's not a deficit in our fund balance, we don't have a deficit. Now, she didn't, I don't think she knew that for sure, but she threw out several different options about what we could do. But, I mean, that's.
So she's saying that all the revenue, unanticipated and anticipated, is counted towards whether or not we have a deficit.
Yes.
The
But
fund
that
balance.
wasn't what
Yep.
we talked about after the last
Correct.
meeting with the budget committee when.
What we were explaining
That's
to
good.
DRA.
Yeah, it was really good. The discussion.
very good.
The discussion we had with DRA was very interesting because we educated them. There were some areas that they were not aware of until we
Nice.
brought up our unique situation, and they went digging around. And we had a conversation one day. Next day, we got a call back from DRA saying, "Hey, I was digging around in some legal documents, and here's what I found. It's rather obscure. I've never used this before, but call this attorney." Actually, we happened to be one of our attorneys in the firm that we use who had written the report. So, anyway.
So we squeaked by. Wing and a prayer.
There's certain criteria that you needed to meet in order to apply that method.
What criteria?
Wasn't there certain reasons that allowed you to take the
Unanticipated.
So there-
340,000
So
is
there-
called.
No, I was just gonna explain that. That's why I've been trying to raise my hand, is the 340. I knew he was gonna ask that one.
Go ahead.
Okay, the $340,000 was what was given back from the school last year, so we didn't have to raise it in taxes, specifically for the education tax. Basically, when 64 and 101 separated, we used to pay 64 fees to be the SAU. They were able to retain a fund. Unlike the school, the SAU can actually retain a fund. And they retained, and don't quote me on the exact number, but approximately $220,000. I don't remember, somewhere in there, but it's around 220. We had, I think, at the end of last year, around $30,000 was at the end of our budget last year approximately. That's where the 34 came from, and other miscellaneous fees.
Where
The
does that show on
340.
Financial statements.
The 340.
That SAU saving, like,
Where the SAU retained money, the fund
Where
balance. That
does
was
that
a
show?
big audit from, it was,
where does it show in the
It's-
financials?
It's last year's.
I have it on the front sheet. On the revenue, it shows, use of fund balance to reduce taxes. On the revenues, it's the third line, $340,013. So instead of raising additional money for the appropriations, they used the fund balance. So you see, so they had to raise, the town had to raise $5,541,315 in new taxes to support the school. And then the additional revenue sources are everything below that, to equal the $9.3 million. Did you see that?
I do.
So the other thing is, when we spoke to DRA and the attorney, when we're in a deficit appropriation situation, we look at all our other revenue sources to cover the deficit appropriation. So, as Jerry said, you look at the options. Do we have trust funds? Yes, we did. We had trust fund that we could use, which was special ed, so we applied that. So then that reduces your deficit by that much.
Yeah.
Do we have additional revenue that we hadn't estimated? Yes, we did.
Is that the unanticipated?
Yes.
Okay.
So now we could apply that revenue source to that.
So but that was a new discovery,
Yes.
right? Because we were
Yes.
told we couldn't use it, it was going back to the town.
Yes.
Yeehaw.
So that's the
Yes.
criteria.
And then we had the $200,000. In total, well, I mean, we never knew where we were gonna end up at the end of the year. We still don't. This is a draft again. In the
How much
end.
more can come through? I
What?
mean, it's a month
No,
later.
We're pretty confident of this. Again,
Okay.
the bottom line of the fund balance may look slightly different here.
But we are, at this point, with all the revenue sources, the trust fund that was transferred, the $200,000 from the warrant article, and the additional revenue that we received, that wasn't anticipated, that we didn't have, that's all applied here. So in the end, we still have a fund balance with all the revenue sources.
Interesting.
To cover the expenditures. Your positive number overrides
The
your
big
negative.
change
This
since I've
actually-
been
this
here
will
last is
interest you
that we
guys.
were
I
allowed
might
to use
think
the
my own.
unanticipated revenue, and that's a really good thing.
Tracy?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so 154 means we only have to use 46,000 of the $200,000 that we requested. So we do
Correct.
not have to use all of the 200 because there is 154.5 left over.
Where'd that go?
We have, well,
They
when you
won't have
do,
to raise it.
we
Okay.
have a positive balance of $154,000. So
No,
We're
I
not
just
gonna-
want
we're
to know
not
the
gonna-
difference when,
the
we're
only-
just not gonna raise that difference now.
We do have to raise the 46, but it's already been
The way
approved.
DRA explained it to us is that the town will allocate the $200,000 to us, but we'll only spend 46,000, and then it'll go back to the town.
right,
We're not, you know, it would be,
Right.
to lower
we're
taxes.
not gonna be spending that extra money because we haven't.
Right.
No, it
Nice.
goes back.
Good, that's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's there, but it would be,
No, it's bad.
there's gotta be some level of trust, you know, this is what the money was allocated for. If we don't need it, even though
Right, it
the
goes
way
back.
DRA
not-
explained it, it all gets allocated, but we're only spending the money that
And
we have to do.
That safety latch was based on the wording of the warrant article. You know, the 200,000 was raised and appropriated based on a need, or a presentation of a need. So if you don't need that much, yes, it does go back to the.
Oh, right, yeah. No, that
It's
goes,
going back.
absolutely.
That's
It
good.
was, yeah, no,
this
we,
is good news for the town.
Yeah.
There's no warrant article, there's no
Yeah,
reason
no,
to
we
bring this
didn't- we didn't-
forward.
we
They,
were-
you know,
we didn't wanna ask for
anticipated
it,
this.
believe me.
They pointed out to us that
Horrible.
that Dr. Tyree did a really good job of bringing this forward to you early on, so that we can make sure it got put onto a warrant article. It was presented just the way it was supposed to. All the steps were followed according to DRA. We
Nice.
got the same report back from our auditors who did the preliminary audit a week and a half ago.
Great learning experience.
Sandy?
So the amount that will be taken from the 200,000 is what, 40?
46,000.
At this point in time,
right,
And
this
again,
is a
Again,
draft.
this is the draft. We're pretty confident with this, but, you know, it may have some slight changes to it.
all right, so that was,
That's
so,
great.
it is great
Good
news.
news.
And it's great news, and, you know, we wanted to tell you, I'm more, what's the word, cautious. I wanna make sure that everything ties to everything, and then what we report to DRA and the DOE is accurate, so, but this is just, I wanna make it, be sure it's preliminary. Pretty close, but there may be changes.
This is not the end of the year report.
You'll
But
get,
a month after the end of the year, what can you be looking at?
well, we just got a bill yesterday.
Well, but don't we know what bills we don't have yet?
No,
How is that possible?
because things happen, electric bill, a gas bill, or whatever it
But we
is.
know that they're coming.
Right, but we didn't know what the
Don't know the
max
exact
dollar amount is.
Right, but we
that's all.
have,
This,
And
I'm
the
just saying.
idea-
And the audit isn't finished either, right?
And this is just caution. I want to caution you all that if you look at that bottom line and say, well, how come it's off by $150 and it was this, I'm just, again, when this is not the official end of the year
but
expenditure
you don't expect a
report.
big percentage.
No.
Like I said, I'm
I just wanna make sure that people understand that it can change, there's a possibility.
hesitant to give it out and say it's, bottom line, this is it. And that'll come back to bite you as well.
So the next box is food service, as you can see, it's an in and out, we have to fund it, the total revenues, the actual revenues we received is 218,000. It's the same, it's in the same box in the black, and so it's an in and out, whatever revenue, whatever we spend, we have to collect in revenue. And part of that $218,000 of revenue was what was transferred from the general fund.
Cover the people who didn't pay their electric bill. We've got to figure out a way to do something about that.
The
Well,
next
there's-
thing, the next thing is,
Article.
the grant fund. And I just want to point out that if we didn't have the grant fund, the federal funds, this is additional money that helps supplement the operating budget. These are additional expenses that are being covered through grants. So if we didn't have grants, we would have to find, in order to provide the same services that we're currently providing, $393,000 additional in our budget. So, thank goodness for grants and for Ann and her staff and our staff for being due diligent and finding other sources of revenue to supplement what we can. And
reduce
kudos
taxes.
to them. I mean, kudos to this, for doing that. So, currently in 19, we received $393,661.79 of revenue. Now, I just want to make sure that people understand, we cannot get more money we cannot collect more money of revenue or ask for reimbursement than what we spent. And I tell you, they go through a fine tooth and comb to make sure that how we're saying we're gonna spend the money, we spent it. Because they are not gonna release that money unless they're sure that we spent it appropriately for the reason we said we were gonna do it. And Ann can speak to that.
Get a nice segue to DEF.
Well, I have a question
there.
because I wasn't in the conversation that you had with the attorney, but when you came out of that conversation, you said that because the special ed deficit was legal, it helped us. So how is it that it helped us?
I'm going to say it helped us, but it's the only line, it's the only function that can legally be overspent. If we were overspent by $400,000 in $1,100, if we overspent by in the facilities or the principal line, we wouldn't be able to be legally overspent, and that would pose probably some different issues.
But we could stop those. But as a board, we could stop those. We could have said, no, sorry, we're not gonna get whatever it was we were gonna get, whereas we cannot.
It is a little bit ironic that we can stop funding regular ed, but we can't stop funding special ed.
Correct.
Correct.
And pisses me off. For the record.
So, and the last fund is just showing the in and outs of the trust fund, of the trust funds. And the trust fund, I know that the trust funds run from calendar year. They run January to December. So this is broken down by school year, from July to June. So this is the ins and outs that happen. And on here is also $105,000 that was taken out for the special education line.
Well, this is good news, superintendent's report, so.
And then the backup, I tried to show, I'll go to page 1 to 24 on the expenditure side. It's just an example, the detail. The 1100 line, kind of tried to indicate where the costs were, as Tracy had said. So if you look, I highlighted that the health insurance was over by $95,000, and the board was aware of that back in the fall. The tuition, the high school tuition, we knew it was gonna be over. We knew that also in the fall. It came in at approximately $19,000 over budget. And then, even though we were in a negative by $77,000 and we had those over expenditures, we had savings in other lines, but because of the budget freezes, I also indicated the lines that were not spent. So there were supplies of $1,400, textbooks of $4,800, software of $720, furniture and fixtures for $398, and dues for $463. As you could see, overall in the scheme of things, there's very limited amount of expenditures that we could freeze to make that kind of a difference, to cover those, to cover the overall other expenses. And I did the same thing throughout the detail for you, as a reference.
Thank you.
Very good. Is that all you have, Jerry?
That's it. Is that all?
It's good news though. Good.
I might need chins inhaler.
I get anxiety meds too if you want them.
New business, school bus driver's handbook.
I am not passing that this year.
No, you're not.
Why? Well, come on, I fixed all that grammar.
Again, came to my attention today, about on page 17 of the manual or of the board packet under accidents. And I wasn't sure if there was a policy. There is not a policy around accidents. We do have a procedure. We follow the Safe Sea rules, which are from the Department of Transportation. is going to amend that a little bit regarding how we call the school, because you can't use your cell phone when you're a bus driver, you have to use the radio. I imagine if the radio was broken, you could, but.
Even when you've been in an accident and you're stopped and you're outside of the bus, you
That-
still
that way-
can't use your
well,
cell
Would it
phone?
be forgiven? Probably, but as a school, we cannot
Well,
put
what's
it
it- what-
right
again-
that we're gonna allow it.
Vern, what was it, you gave me the anecdote, what you have to do, you're supposed to throw your radio out the window?
Yeah, so in our lessons,
What
when
was
we
it?
get, when we go through our trainings for accidents, the first thing we're supposed to do is radio, I've been in an accident. As you're even pulling off the road, the thing with the two-way radio is you can use the two-way radio while you're driving. You cannot pick up a phone while you are driving. So what I'm saying by this, by call the school, is I'm gonna get to the school, into my dispatcher, before I'm gonna be able to pull off the road safely, make sure no student is injured. I can do more while I'm on my radio. So, when we were in our classes, we were told to radio it in, pull over, decide if we need to evacuate a bus, count injured, we're supposed to tell locations, we're supposed to train our students on, recognizing where they're at, like I just passed the Naughty Pine, or something like that, so that if something was to happen to me, they could do it. And the one thing they do train us is if we do have to evacuate, we're to throw our mic out our window, so that we can still communicate with the school. So we're in constant communication with the school. Would I say yes, call 911 if it's a serious accident? I'm hoping that my dispatcher would get the call before we even had the chance to find our cell phone that we're not supposed to have. We're not can't be in view, can't be on, so a dispatcher would be the one who would call.
Or all the kids on the bus who are on their phones.
Most of the time, they are the ones that would call
Sorry,
first.
Cindy.
So I will amend that to, because it says, notify the school of an accident occurred. I think it says, call in there, and I'm gonna actually write notify on radio first. When I read the the FMCSAs, which is the Federal Motor Carrier Laws, I went back to my office after our meeting today and I reread that again. It does say in there, as a company, which, you know, a municipality company, that you're not supposed to, basically, if we write on here that you can use your cell phone, we're liable when they use their cell phone when they're not supposed to. So we're supposed to provide them every way to not use their cell phone. And the safety law says they can't use it within the driver compartment, but then it also says that you cannot leave your driver's compartment with students on the bus if you're on the road.
Okay, so if somebody's hurt, you can't use your phone, because you can't leave the bus, and you can't use your phone on the bus. Right?
It's
Right,
very
you have to go-
complicated.
right. But that's how it boils
Go ahead.
down, right?
Yeah, basically.
So I had the question of, shouldn't 911 be the first call, especially if somebody's injured, because now you've got to call the school, you're wasting time, but it was explained to me that, so I want to make it clear that we did ask why 911 can't be first but that they're not allowed to use their phones.
They're not allowed to use their cell phones. It does give you, in the Federal Motor Carriers, there is a clause that says if you've tried then obviously you can. But once again, it does state that as a company, you should not put that in a policy or a procedure. So I think that that's a common sense. If someone is severe, I would hope the drivers, with all the training that they go through, if someone is severely hurt and no one's answering that radio, they're gonna take out their cell phones and risk what might happen. And to be very honest, I'm gonna sit right next to them and defend them.
Right. No, I
If you have an engine fire, you'd think common sense would tell you to exit with the children.
Right.
and call
Get away from
911.
the radio.
And then
Kids up
call, and you're
first.
probably
Yeah.
gonna get away from the radio and then call 911. A lot of our training
sense.
goes on common, it really is, a lot of our training is, what would you do in this situation, what would you do in this? Unfortunately, you can't really train for every situation that's gonna happen on the road. I mean, we try to teach our 16-year-olds that.
Questions or comments about the,
I do have a few. I'll
Yeah.
run through them quickly.
No, that's fine.
Number 7 on page 17, I know, to me, it seems that termination doesn't come until D, the fourth preventable accident or
So
whatever.
we
But
went over this last year,
We
and I
did.
think that it said that, you could skip to D.
you could skip to D if you
Yeah.
wanted to, right, okay.
So, I mean, there are things that,
it's even in A,
yeah.
termination is optional.
Right.
Right.
You have that
Right.
option.
Fourth one, you don't have any more options. Terminate 'em.
Right, right.
I mean, and it
So-
really goes on.
Right, it does. Page 18, the fourth one, it's the fourth offense should result in termination. Should it be may result in termination or results in termination?
Or shall.
No, it says, you do, not may.
The
Fourth
fourth
one, you're
should.
done.
You're a little.
Right, I
bit-
think the should be eliminated.
Maybe it should be the word shall,
Shall,
because should is a suggestion and shall is a determination.
correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Shall.
Oh, what else did I write here? 17, 18, 19, and 23. Oh, funny, this is just.
What page?
19, and also the same thing will happen. It refers to, will be reported to the pupil transportation. All the others report to the transportation manager or,
Okay.
Nope, so this is a safety law.
Okay.
And pupil transportation, which I actually have an edit in here and I'm gonna write, I edited it for the Department of Pupil Transportation. That's who I answer to besides Mr. Gregoire. When something is wrong on a bus, if I catch a driver on a cell phone and we terminate them because that's our policy, I also have to report it to the state so that they pull their school bus certificate. Meaning they can't leave here, they can't talk on their cell phone and endanger our kids and then go over to Governor Wentworth and endanger theirs. So but I did edit it to say the Department of,
Okay.
because I didn't understand how that could be.
all right. And my last question, does anybody else,
Here.
page 24, question 24. This is more of a curiosity. Those buses have been equipped with a white strobe light on the roof of the bus, and however, they cannot use them on field trips. You can use them everywhere else, but you're not allowed to use it on a field trip.
That's silly, huh?
Yeah.
It is a safety and it is the
Okay.
silliest safety ever.
Okay.
But it is worded home to school and school to home.
Okay, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
If you have to make changes, I would ask that anywhere that you refer to a student with disabilities as handicapped students, that you change it to student with disabilities.
Student with disabilities.
It's just,
Do you know the pages that I can come in?
where I see it on student transportation, it's
Okay.
just,
Control F, find it in your Word document.
What was it, what did I write it as?
student with disabilities. It's just frowned upon now to
No,
refer
that's
to
fine.
kids as handicapped kids.
So we're looking for a vote for the accept this handbook with changes, so we can get this out to the bus drivers.
I'll make a motion to approve this handbook with its amendments offered.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
School bus schedule.
I forgot the E in Stoneham Road on both Orange and High School. Orange High School and Orange Elementary. I think it auto-corrected it. Got that one.
Okay. I didn't have any.
Did you, who's the bus driver? Did somebody leave?
Yes.
Is it gonna affect me? Was it my bus driver?
No.
Okay, good. I like my bus driver.
Any
Your
comments?
bus
She
driver?
likes you too, see?
Any comments or questions on the schedule?
Keith's computer's going this
Nope.
year.
Moving on,
Moving on.
RFP,
Thank you.
C, RFP, mechanical plumbing. Joe's not here.
Joe's not here. Pretty standard language in here. If you had a chance to go through this, he's got, if you look on page 50, the schedule here.
Yeah, Cindy, you have a comment on this, right?
Yes, why would we approve something for today for something that we're not going to be starting until March?
Just to get a jump on it, so when we do go to, when it does get approved in March, this won't go out now, but you're looking at, you can see August 6th, approve the RFP, not until March 30th do we post to the website. So as soon as it gets approved, we end up posting. You know, we hear the comments, I think it was from Jen, we said, you know, why are we waiting so long, right? So we can't do anything until we have an RFP approved.
But this says
Why
it
not
wasn't
do
going
it
to be
now?
posted until March 30th.
Why not approve the RFP now, anticipating the contract will be up? And then we can have a jump on things as soon as if we
I don't
pass the
think
March
that's
vote.
too far in advance. I was thinking that closer to December, for something that's gonna be done in,
It needs to be done.
I'm just not sure why we have to wait. You know, we've got it in front of us, we know it's gonna happen. Let's just.
Ralph?
This is the first time I've seen it. So
Yeah.
the only reason I would ask to wait, maybe table it for our very next meeting,
Yep.
is so we can all review this and then have some dialogue about it
Yeah.
at our next meeting.
I would agree that, you know, I want you all to read it and have an idea of what it looks like, but,
I read it.
yeah, I just like, I just like to have a jump on things.
Yeah,
I know.
well, I mean, 14 days, it'd be the 20th where we could,
Ralph, I have no issue, and saying my only point is that we know what's gonna happen, that we anticipate it, you know, and I applaud Joe for getting this done, you know, well ahead of time.
Right. Actually, so my question was, what do we currently pay? But we'll wait till next week for that. And if you're basically replacing facilities maintenance, yearly maintenance on a 3-year contract.
Yes.
Yep.
And the same thing would apply then for landscaping and is the mechanical, if you wanna wait until, and Joe will be here to.
No, I think the landscaping's happening soon.
Well, the
Well, the landscaping seems more
Winter
appropriate
grounds.
since it's in this.
winter grounds,
Yeah, he's starting that in October, I
page?
think.
That would be page
64.
Oh, my mistake,
Yeah, no, that's right around the corner.
He's posting that soon.
You wanna wait on this one?
No, I don't. Whatever anybody else wants to.
Well,
This needs as much advertising as possible. It'd be nice to see competition here. So the later we go, the less competition we have. But that's my reasoning for wanting it. He's just advertising for the
and
landscaper.
I am familiar with this particular
Okay.
deal, you know, in the past. I've seen this job in the
I
past,
would
so.
consider this more grounds maintenance than landscaping. Landscaping sounds fluffy and like money we should spend when things are tight.
Oh, no,
And
this is snow
ma-
plowing.
Right, but that's ground
Ground
maintenance, I would
maintenance,
say.
yes.
And
Right.
snow removal, right?
Right,
Yep,
the big
yep.
snow.
So the only,
Roof,
the only thing that I would be hoping to see in here is this company, whoever the bidders are they gonna be shoveling, not, you know, plowing, and that's one thing, but shoveling the walks, or are we still gonna have employees of the district shoveling the walks from the parking lot to the main doors and stuff like that? Does this request for a proposal
does.
have those duties in
It
it?
does.
Okay. So it's all
It
inclusive?
even has roof, anything over 18 inches on the flat roof. It has roof snow removal. It has.
And ice,
Not
ice
ice
as well.
also.
Snow removal, if
over
there's no
half an
snow to
inch.
remove.
Right.
I mean,
They-
this isn't a blanket that you get this amount of money for your snow removal for the winter. It's on a per job basis.
Per diem, yeah.
Over-
B on page 7.
870.
Over half an inch, they have to come back. Replowing must be done after additional 2 inches of snow. All areas must be paved within 1/4 of an inch.
So you want this one approved tonight, I take it?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the RFP that's being put out, or proposed to be put out by the 12th of August.
I second.
Second, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The other one we're gonna wait on?
If we can.
Jerry?
Jerry?
We'll wait on the.
We're waiting on the mechanical
Okay.
until the next meeting.
All right.
Can I make a suggestion on the mechanical one? If we could change the March 30th, 2020 post website to, that's why I objected, was because it wasn't gonna be posted. And you just said that as soon as they get approval, they're gonna post it, so that maybe doesn't need to be listed on this page.
So we talk with them, when we revisit it, I would think, the next meeting.
All right. Hampshire School Board Administration.
So, we have, again, as you can also see in the correspondence, point A, just to go over this, the intent to bargain letter that came from the WEA. So, we will be doing collective bargaining again. We did go over significantly in our legal fund, legal this year. And so I put this in your packet to see if people are interested in attending the collective bargaining retreat management, which is offered by the New Hampshire the New Hampshire School Administrators Association.
What page you on, Jerry? Sorry.
I'm on page 77 and 78.
Okay.
So if people are interested in going, we can sign you
I'm
up
gonna
for
meet
this.
them
This is, I believe, it's next Tuesday.
I'd like to go, but I would like to request that we move the curriculum meeting because it's the same morning.
That's what they did at the hospital. They did that. I gotta go.
Is that
Yeah.
something
Yep.
that,
All right.
I'd like to go too, but man, I tell you.
yeah?
But nobody has my prescription.
I mean, I'm not on the team, so I think the people on the team should have priority to this, especially at that cost. Holy moly. But I mean, if you can't make it,
I'll be going.
So when, I'm sorry, because I had to take
That's
that. Was it- what was
Tuesday,
it?
August 13th.
During the day?
During the day. It's 8 AM to
August 13th,
3:15.
so that's
Tuesday, next
Tuesday.
Tuesday, week from today.
Let me ask.
Oh, good, Jen, I am gonna go, so I can give you a ride.
I was just gonna get the day off after taking so many days off already.
That's a full day, huh?
It's a full
3.
day.
I mean, the reason I'd like to go is just because I don't think you can miss out on opportunities like this, or you should miss out on opportunities like this. So, because I'm not on that negotiating team, I certainly think it's an opportunity you should take, but if you can't, I would like to. So, just so that I have a little better understanding of the process.
Let us
It's
know.
news to me, so I am.
Yeah, it's a.
You know, I mean, life exists around the school board, you know.
Let us know, you know, again, you call the office tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk to my boss
You-
tomorrow.
Tracy, you're on.
I'm on, but
and so-
the curriculum's gotta be moved.
Yep.
I could register myself. Okay. It's up to you.
I'll call you tomorrow.
Curriculum will be moved to Monday.
Good.
The previous day.
At 9.
What was that?
At 9, right?
At 9 AM.
All right. We good with this?
Should I?
She's gonna find out at work first, so she'll let us know.
Okay.
Policies, DAF.
DAF, so I'll start this one.
Sure.
All right, DAF. So oddly enough, we talked quite a bit about grants and the UGG and assurances, and recall back in June where we approved the assurances without this piece. This piece is the financial piece of the assurances. And we had an audit last year for our assurances and our grant process, which was very successful. They did recommend to improve the administration of federal grant fund policy, which was actually given to many districts. And due to that area, the New Hampshire School Board Association created a new DAF, an administration of federal funds policy, April of 2019. It is fairly long, so in order to digest all of it, we're doing it in pieces, suggested by Jen. Tonight, we're going over DAF 1 and DAF 2. This policy, they also say this is a policy, but there should also be a procedure. And working with Jerry and Marie, it was decided that they would provide us with a flow chart to show how we comply with the assurances. But as we've already discussed, we had almost $400,000 in federal grants this year, and we obviously got all the money that we needed because assurances were followed. But as boards have to vote on them, it would help to reassure us that there is a flow chart for ensuing people that work on it. DAF.
Can I just add to that? So there was a federal audit that drove this.
Right.
So the state was audited, and there were many policies that were incorrect amongst many districts. So that's the school board suggested, or the auditor from the state suggested to the school board that maybe he try to put it all in one document so that
Consistency.
it would be consistent.
It's very complete, it's very thorough, and it makes a lot of sense. It's just lengthy, so in order to have everybody have the opportunity to go through it. And there are also related policies that later on we will continue to go through that do relate to this policy. And again, our audit was very successful. They also asked us to pick up the policy that was just issued in April, so, which is what we're doing right now. Changes, the only changes so far that were recommended by the committee are that you can personalize this to a certain extent, but the decisions will be made by superintendent or business administrator, as our business administrator is not full-time, or designate.
Just because, that's because of the part-time nature, with, Marie.
Could have things to do.
Like, Trace, I'm just gonna jump a second here,
Yep.
I think it's policy DJ, you should see on page 80, is modify DJ to identify who has the authority. Currently in our policy, it says only the business administrator can make approvals for items that are non-educational. Well, if she's not here for a period of time, well, then we have to have somebody other than solely the VA. And so that's what we're just gonna make some title changes on there just to make sure that we cover ourselves. The policy that we have currently was written in 2012, far long before we determined that we were gonna have some part-time administrators.
Or we were not SAU 101.
Right, this
Correct.
actually is even a required policy. I'm gonna skip over to page 82.
Did you say this is not a required policy?
It is a required
It
policy.
is a requirement.
But
It
it's
is a
been
required-
around since 2008?
No, go back to the very last page, and you'll see,
Which page?
well, I'm going to 82, but I'm getting a page from Ralph.
Sorry about that.
Here, no problem.
99?
Page 99, where it says, New Hampshire School Board History, new policy, April 2019. If you go up, it's about there's a disclaimer, and you go up 3 lines, where it says, New Hampshire School Board History, new policy. So it includes things from previous years, but that's where,
Can I just kind of also point out, go back to page 80, Rose, at the very top, it says related policies, or see also. So these are the policies that Ann was talking about that didn't conform to federal requirements. And we're gonna have to go through and make those amendments to those policies as well.
which you'll see coming through. As you can see, there's, if you go to page 82, all the way at the bottom, you start up with DAF1, allowability. But just prior to that is where the reason why I asked for the flow chart is that there also have to be administrative procedures, and I think this would be a nice way to have that available for the board. So DAF allowability, I'm going to 83. I'm just going to highlight it. A is cost principles, which explains the cost principles necessary and reasonable. And this, if you're not sure if your cost is necessary and reasonable, it is this section that defines it and clarifies whether or not it's reasonable or necessary. So I moved along to B, selected item of cost. This is a section that will tell you if your cost is allowable. And to check costs against the selected items of cost and the requirements of the grant. Then you also go down to C, whether or not cost compliance. Are they compliant with the requirements? They ask you to go to D, to whether or not a cost is direct or indirect. A direct cost would be salary or services that are directly related to that grant, whereas maybe a utility cost is indirect because it is used by other services in the school. Let's see, so I'm going on to E. Timely obligation of funds. When the grant funds are available, if, for instance, the acquisition of property, they become available on the date which the district makes a binding written commitment to acquire the property. So That's what section E is about, is when the grant funds are available. Go to F, which is beginning and end of the grant project. The period of performance is what it's called. And it goes into explain, if you go down further, the obligations incurred under the award not later than 45 days after the end of the funding period. The fund performance is the funding period of the grant. And that would conclude DAF 1. DAF 2 is the cash management and control. This minimizes the time between what happens to the funds between the time that you receive the fund and disbursement. If you have a certain amount of money, it has to go into an account for interest, that sort of thing. We don't hold money, we don't get it early. It's an in and out deal. But if we did, DAF 2 is where we would go to find out the rules on how to disperse the money. But we do not use a cash advance payment method. And as you can see, DAF 2 ends on page 87. And it says you can keep $500 of interest if you actually accrue the interest. Again, we don't ever sit anywhere where it accrues interest. The last piece is next week. So we're gonna, this is gonna be a consensus. We're gonna treat this like a first reading. If you wanna come back and say anything, can bring it back to the next meeting. The next meeting, we will read DAF 3 and DAF 4, which both are procurement. And that's it.
Good.
Good job, Trace.
Nice job, Tracy. You learned that quick.
No, I've read it a couple times. In fairness to everybody, I had to read it. I had to read it.
I remember there was a Jerry Speaks in those notes somewhere.
It is right
And
here,
did
but
not
Jerry speak, but but you did in the middle. You elaborated on pieces that you got.
I
so.
can't help myself.
Right, me too. But if there's and I think we're gonna do 3, 4. We might wrap it up with the remainder. There's 10 sections, but the rest get short. The first 4 are long.
Good, thank you. Public comment? Seeing none? Resignation nominations.
As you can see, we had a resignation from Gabrielle Clark, who was our library aide assistant. Congratulations to her. She's accepted the job as a library media specialist at SAU 9.
I'll make a motion to accept this resignation with regrets from Ms. Clark.
And while it's not on there, I just am compelled to let you know that the math teacher that you approved at our last board meeting backed out.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she backed out.
8th grade?
Eighth
No.
grade. We are in the process of interviewing. I expect to have this wrapped up hopefully tomorrow or the next day.
Wasn't very fair, huh?
Life
Left
is
us
not
in a
fair sometimes.
left us a little bit at a
But it's
disadvantage.
the only position we have open at this point.
Still no way to lobby for the 7th grade math teacher to become the 8th grade math teacher.
Either way,
She's
we're
awesome, huh?
we're gonna have
Good
a gap.
Come on, we
So we have a motion on the floor from
She's the
Ralph.
best.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are, well, I say, let me just go back. I say we have all these positions, that people have been offered jobs. I'm waiting to hear that. I expect to hear that be wrapped up, most of this by Thursday. Maybe not the math.
So you might have other,
No, people have already accepted, but I have yet to do the paperwork on it.
Okay.
It just kind of came in.
oh, you're not talking about people who accepted jobs elsewhere?
No,
Okay.
no. The only position that we have not offered a job to is math.
I don't know if you were at the board meeting, the last board meeting where the preschool teacher resigned.
No.
So we have just found a person that we feel is gonna be really good.
Today, I mean, it's, again, this has been happening, they've been interviewing next door all afternoon. I have a couple of people today,
As long as it wasn't kindergarten.
My goals. One go.
Okay,
Correspondence.
correspondence.
The tent toboggan master contract, 2020.
We've already mentioned that, but there is that intent to bargain from the WEA written from Gavin.
Are they looking for dates? Is that what it is?
They're required to let us know that they intend to bargain this year, so that's part of their process that they
Okay.
have to do. And the Next one is the town of Wake, something no decision.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Mike.
That's all right. Sorry, Jerry.
Okay, no, my
So,
apologies.
looking at the CBA with the teachers, it does say that the board should put together a plan as a board and then have the reps present that. Is there a time that the whole board can find, maybe on the next agenda where we can take a little bit of time and discuss what the complete board feels should be pertinent to the discussions?
We can do that.
Yeah, we did that, we
And
did that last year.
I'm not sure you want to do that. You're talking about negotiations, and I'm not sure you want to present that initially in public.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't say, I didn't.
Okay, you're
I should
talking
have said
non-
non-public.
Oh, no, I just want to make sure that we,
But you can't, can you? I thought non-public was only for specific people at specific times. It wasn't for general.
We could have a workshop to find out whether or not we want certain things to be presented to the negotiating table.
I think we did that,
I do, but I think we were criticized for it.
on,
oh, were we?
Mm-hmm.
How do we know what the board wants? You can't.
We have to talk about it in public.
No, you don't.
Well, not this.
I thought that non-public was only for specific
No, I-
individuals.
I think you're
No,
right. I
and
think you do.
negotiations.
If you're talking about negotiable items, then that should be in non-public.
I would
That
think
would
it
be
was
in
the other
insurance.
way, though.
If you're gathering information,
Yeah.
then that's different.
I don't think it was, because we had just been through it, and then we were heavily criticized for it.
I don't remember that part, but.
Nobody ever said, oh, except for negotiations. They said, what are you guys up to? And you're socialists. Remember that part?
Yes, I do. I was accused.
We could do it as a workshop, right?
It would be.
Well, I think we just need to make sure that everything that should be in public
Jerry's
is in
looking at
public.
yeah.
Right, of course, I agree. But if it's also not supposed to be in public, that's also very bad. If it's not supposed to be, it cannot be. So either
But that was
way, just as long as it's correct.
You let us know on that, Jerry?
I will.
All right.
I will send you out that decision by email, so you're aware of it.
Where? I
So,
know.
I just want to interpret.
Town of Wakefield,
A little better.
notice of decision, I guess Eversource utility pole?
Yeah, you'd just be informed as a butters that our property, they're going to be putting in some, doing some construction over there and the power lines.
Well,
Could I gain consensus or consent from the board to take some initiative to contact Eversource and do a little bit of investigating on what a solar field might, I mean, the property that we own there on Rhines Road abuts the power station. And I'm an advocate of solar power, and I think the school district could teach a lot to the kids if we had some sort of, I would just reach out to Eversource and see what they thought initially of a solar panel farm up there. It's 56 acres. We don't need 56 acres. I think 5 or 10 acres of a solar panel farm would be sufficient to start. I mean, if we could knock off it would be an investment by the school district, but if it was a recoverable cost, and I'm just hoping that the board would allow me to make an initial contact and see if it's a viable
anybody have an
avenue.
issue with that? No, I don't.
Do you want a motion?
Just a consensus would be fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna even make a motion on
Yeah,
that.
no, that's fine.
Jen, okay with that?
Yeah, it's not a commitment to do anything, right? Because
No,
I mean,
right, no
we're at
commitment.
another low budget year, so we're not gonna be spending any money.
No, and
Information.
certainly anything that went on up there would have to be approved by the voters, in March, so, or 2 Marches or 3 Marches or whatever.
Nothing wrong with information.
Right, I love information.
Thank you.
Yes.
2 things. I did send this out. This is a wonderful goals chart
Yep.
that Jerry did for us, and I was wondering if maybe on the agenda next time we could,
Yeah, we
Do a
handed it out,
benchmark?
and I've been working over the summer, addressing all the goals that are in that grid on
Yep.
the first sheet.
Yep.
On the first page, so they're not all in there on this sheet. But yeah, we'll probably have that done by the next meeting.
Are we near the end? Can I ask a question that's not on the agenda, or is that? taboo. I might have missed it, and I've got to tell you, I did not go back and study up, because I kind of had my hands full. How did we do on the testing?
We kind of like Mr. Lampert pointed out, we had some high points, and we had some areas that we certainly need to improve on.
So, anything more specific than that?
I'm not prepared to talk about that. I don't have the numbers in front of me and, for grade level, but,
Did we improve?
some areas, yeah.
And we-
Considerably.
And we went down in others, is that what you're saying?
And I guess I'd like to have Jim here to kind of speak
Oh,
to
is
it
he?
with them. I gave him a pass tonight because there wasn't a whole lot regarding.
He's
the
actually
building.
working.
They're pretty
That's
busy
nice.
with
I
hiring.
think they're working.
With hiring stuff. But, yeah, I think I'd like you to come back and at least give you a much more detailed report. There are some areas I'm really happy about, and the other areas that I know that we need to improve on.
Is this one of the ones that the individual test scores go out in the mail?
Yes.
Did they already go?
Yes.
Oh, mine.
I believe so, yeah. I believe Jim sent my note that people have
Yeah, they
gotten
have
them.
gone
You
out.
can smile. She's got awards up. She got highest score in math and from her teachers, and second highest in English, I think. So,
Sweet.
yeah.
Susie?
On that particular note, actually, the curriculum committee, one of the things that we are working on is I've been working with the Julie Couch and Nate Green from the New Hampshire DOE, and they have their curriculum assessment group up there that will, that have started to speak with Jerry about coming in
Oh,
to
good.
take a look, and it's free,
I've got another thing real quick.
so.
I touched base with you. Well, first of all, I think in the award ceremony at the end of the year, I think high test scores should be part of that, because I think we bring attention to all the kids to try to do better. But remember I asked you about a specific family who wanted to get into Spalding because they missed step-up day?
Mhm.
Did you address that at all?
I have.
And, because there's a couple other ones too that I've heard. That,
Let me talk to you after the meeting.
okay. I just think it's important for
That's
everybody.
okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Jim.
I'm all caught up now, see that? Just like that.
Anything else?
I'll make a motion to wait till 8 o'clock to end our meeting.
I'm gonna abstain.
Motion to adjourn?
So I was gonna tell you, I was racing you for the door today because I need a nap.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I need to text you anyway.